Cruising here on a Degenerate Friday edition of the program at Magic City Casino. Great being here. Just absolute fantastic time. Love what they've done with the place. And, people always ask us, Jersey Kyle, how is it that you get involved in being a degenerate? Was the gene just in your system? Nobody in my family gambles. Nobody in my family ever gets involved in any kind of sporting interest whatsoever, whether it's playing, whether it's betting on it, whether it's watching it. I was the only one. So I'm not sure that this is necessarily hereditary. In your case, it might be, but then there's always one incident that seems to trigger and bring out the real degenerate in somebody.
Yeah, it was rough for me growing up in New Jersey, which is known as the Garden State. I call it the gambling state because they're usually the first to do everything in New Jersey. They were the first ones to come up with the legal sports betting, and everybody, that used to fly out to Vegas was now hitting the boardwalk in Atlantic City. But when I was a kid, I had a teacher that taught English and drama, and he had a hot tip on a horse named Lola's Victory at Freehold Racetrack. And he put $20 in my pocket, told me to skip my last 2 classes and head down the Garden State Parkway to get a bet in on Lola's Victory. Well, of course, you know the rest of the story. The horse won, and I've been betting ever since. I just don't ever want to see that number that flashes in front of your eyes when it's all said and done. When on your deathbed, your theory that number comes up.
Well, and this is why all gamblers die with their mouths wide open, because they see that number flash in big, bright white lights. And it's the amount of money that you've lost lifetime. And you just sit there and look at that as you're ready to check out and meet that big casino maker in the sky and go, ah. My story is a little different. It ended in tragedy, and this gets into something else we want to talk about on the show today, and that is how to read the signs from the gods of gambling. All right, so almost everybody's inaugural gambling story, their initiation into it, they're sort of going, through the whole process of getting involved. It has a winning ending to it. Very few people tell you, you know what, I went out to the track the first time, I got crushed like a grape.
Those guys are millionaires today, you know that.
But most of the people, they have a very happy ending to their first gambling story. And in my case, I went with 2 other guys to Roosevelt Raceway. Again, I guess that's what we have in common, the Jugheads. I go to Roosevelt Raceway, and my friend Cliff had just borrowed his mother's new Chevrolet Impala, brand new, right out of the showroom, had about 8 miles on it. He was the only guy of the 3 of us that had a license because you had to be like 17 with private driver's education to get a license. Otherwise, you had to wait to be like 18 when you got it in school. So he borrows the car from his mother. We go to Roosevelt Raceway, never been to the track before, always followed the horses, used to like to look at the results and make mind bets and things of that nature. And in the last race, we hit the trifecta. The 3 of us combined. I think we combined like 67 cents apiece, bet a gold trifecta, and we hit this thing, and we cashed pretty well. So we're euphoric. We're celebrating like maniacs. We're buying drinks for the house. We come outside. There's only one car in the parking lot. It's a Chevrolet Impala, but unfortunately it's surrounded by fire and emergency vehicles because it is literally up in flames.
Not good.
Right. So should we not have read the signs right then and there that this is not for you, DeForest? This is not something that you should get involved in on any kind of long-time or permanent basis. But no. Ignored that. I mean, the guy's mother's car is torched, and we're celebrating our only victory. We should have gone out right then, but we weren't able to control ourselves, and we've been gambling ever since.
Yeah, and now you got holes in your shoes. That's why. But no, listen, everybody's got that story, and the guys that usually hit their first bet are the guys that are still doing it today. If I would have lost that first bet, I would have probably said, you know what, I'm never doing this again. But, listen, we have some great stories, and we have some great times at the racetrack, and we've got many winning stories. Let's go back to the Kentucky Derby a couple years ago when I liked Country House in that race, and you were the beneficiary of a, $15,000 trifecta?
Well, seldom do I benefit from any kind of activity that involves the word steward's inquiry, objection, overtime. Usually that's where you get completely screwed. You're going to get hosed once some type of situation like that pops up. But this was one of the rare times where not only were you right completely, and you were red hot that year, picking every 3-year-old race, and then they put up Country House on a foul that, I don't know, I don't think it was Fugazi, but certainly did influence not only the outcome of the race, but big, giant, enormous payoff that came about as a result of the fact they put this $135 horse up. And one of the few times I actually lucked out. But I can assure you I've more than paid the price for being the benefactor of some very good fortune in that year's Kentucky Derby. And then, of course, we didn't read the signs from the gods of gambling when that guy, Wooly, the trainer with the cowboy hat
Yes.
that had Mind That Bird, we're at the Kentucky Derby, and everywhere I go, I run into this guy. And then I saw the story on TV. And then we were hanging out with Calvin Burrell's agent all day long, and he was telling us about Rachel Alexandra the day before in the Kentucky Oaks. And do we put $2 on Mind That Bird? No, completely ignore the horse. The guy never talked about him once. All the signs were there for the gods. And what happens? He lights up the board with a $100 mutual in the Kentucky Derby. We could have gone home from Louisville in style instead of having to hitchhike home like we did the 2 years that we went out there. Gods of gambling, the signs, very important to learn how to read them. And we're going to talk about that here at Magic City Casino on Degenerate Friday.